1920 कोट्टयम डिस्ट्रिक्ट केरला। पढ़ाई यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ट्रैवनकोर से इंग्लिश लिटरेचर में एमए और लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स से बीएससी। 1943 में यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ट्रैवनकोर में लेक्चरर और फिर कुछ समय के लिए चेन्नई और मुंबई में पत्रकार। 1949 इंडियन फॉरेन सर्विस में शामिल। रंगून में पहली पोस्टिंग के दौरान श्रीमती उषा नारायणन से मुलाकात। फॉरेन सर्विस से रिटायर होने के बाद जनवरी 1979 से अक्टूबर 1980 तक जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी नई दिल्ली के वाइस चांसलर। 1980 से 84 अमेरिका में भारत के राजदूत। 1984 ओटापालम केरला से लोकसभा के लिए पहली बार निर्वाचित। 1985 से 89 कई विभागों में मंत्री पद संभाला। 21 अगस्त 1992 भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति। 25 जुलाई 1997 भारत के राष्ट्रपति।
भारत के संविधान के मुताबिक दस्तूर सा बन गया है कि राष्ट्रपति उसी वक्त कुछ बोलते हैं जब सरकार उनको बोलने की इजाजत दे। तो कुछ महीने पहले जब राष्ट्रपति भवन ने उत्तर प्रदेश में प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल लगाने से इनकार कर दिया और सरकार को अपने इस फैसले पे दोबारा सोचने को कहा, एक राजनीतिक धमाका सा हुआ और ऐसा लगा कि राष्ट्रपति भवन से पहली दफा आवाज सुनाई दी है। आज हम आपको मिला रहे हैं उस आदमी से जिसके आने से ये आवाज सुनाई दी। आइए मिलिए भारत के राष्ट्रपति श्री के.आर. नारायणन से। भारतीय राष्ट्रपति राजनीति पे ना अपनी राय कभी देते हैं, ना ही वो देश के राजनीतिक मसलों में दखल दे सकते हैं। सो हम उनसे उत्तर प्रदेश के उनके फैसले के बारे में नहीं पूछ सके, लेकिन हमने उनसे उनकी देश भर में लोकप्रियता के बारे में जरूर पूछा।
If I have done anything that is by natural way of doing it, and I did not regard public opinion as a factor when I made certain decisions.
Do you think the public opinion matters to the President of India, or is he really aloof from it?
I think it matters. A president of any country, particularly a vast populous country like India, should have a certain equation with the people as a whole. And therefore, technically for doing his job, he is rather aloof. But it is important for a president to have a position in the minds and hearts of the people.
When you became president,
Yes.
did you consciously set out to make a place in the
Yeah.
hearts of the people?
Not at all. Not at all. I had no such aspiration or ambition because it is nice to be liked by the people. And I like people, and therefore they might have responded to some extent to my attitude towards the people.
How did you feel when you became president?
It was kind of benumbed feeling, actually. I did not feel exhilarated or anything particular. It was having been used to moving from job to job throughout my career. So, although this is a very big position, I didn't feel that in me, the bigness of that change.
Even as war and the threat of war must be eliminated, the sharp edge of military operations can and should be blunted by humanitarian intervention.
आजकल के राजनीतिक अस्थिरता के माहौल में जहां एक और गठबंधन सरकार नजर आती है, इलेक्शन के बाद भी राष्ट्रपति की अहमियत बढ़ गई है और राष्ट्रपति भी मानते हैं कि शायद उनका रोल कुछ इस वजह से बदल गया है।
Well, when there is a parliament where there is no clear majority, then it imposes a great burden on the president. Somebody should be there to form a government, and how to form that government, whom to ask to form that government. These are the areas in which there is some room for discretion is available to the president. And I think he has not only a decision-making power, which may not be very much that he has, even in a confused parliamentary situation, but he has the power of persuasion, the power of interacting with people, and to some extent he can exercise that power.
So it would be a more active president?
I think he has to be a little more active. Active not in the sense of doing things arbitrarily, but he has to be active in playing a reconciling role, pointing it out, or not succumbing to pressures which are not good for the country. He has a negative role in that way, and a positive role of advising and persuading people.
इस दिन हम राष्ट्रपति से मिले, उनसे मिलने कई और लोग आए हुए थे। मशहूर सरोद वादक अमजद अली खान भी थे, जो संगीतकारों की तरफ से एक सिफारिश लेके आए थे।
We are representing, she's the oldest musician. She has dedicated her life to All India Radio, Delhi University, and she has been asked to vacate the house in Asian Village tomorrow. We are celebrating India's 50 years, and the classical musician and dance has been humiliated.
राष्ट्रपति अपने और आम लोगों के बीच दूरी कम करने के लिए हफ्ते में एक दिन जनता से मिलते हैं इस अशोका हॉल में, जहां प्रधानमंत्री और उनकी कैबिनेट को शपथ दिलाई जाती है। Doesn't it become a distant country with you sitting in an elevated position? Do you feel that ever, that you've been taken away from people in a way?
Well, I feel that especially when I go out and come into this Rashtrapati Bhavan, I have that feeling. I don't feel that I'm going home when I go out and come back. I feel that as if having used to go into the external affairs to the South Block often, when I drive up from the great place, I have a feeling that I am going somewhere to the office. And therefore, I don't feel as if I am at a home, certainly. And in that sense, I feel a little distant from people. But psychologically, I don't feel that distance. But one difficulty is the security and the protocol that surrounds you. If I go for a walk, number of people accompany me. This is a burden on my mind.
Do you think it's excessive? Do you think it could be reduced?
Oh yes, it is excessive.
What can you do to bridge this distance between the President of India and the people of India?
Well, when people accompany me, I don't look this way or that way or backwards, with the result that I feel I am alone.
Mr. President, there has been a view that has built up over the years that the President is merely there at the behest of a government, for instance.
Yes.
What kind of president would you like to be remembered as? Would you like to be remembered as a president who is concerned about issues in India, or a president who is just at a distance?
I would like to be someone who is concerned about problems of India and issues of India, and about the life of the people, concerned about the future of the country. I think a president is elected in a certain manner, and he is a constitutional president. It has to be so. If he consent himself to occupy that post, but that doesn't mean that he should not be concerned about the issues of the time or the problems of the people. And in various other walks of life I have been concerned, but there also, from there I could probably do very little to change these things. In the same way, though I am concerned and involved, I may not be able to do very much to change these things.
स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन का सपना था कि अंग्रेजों के जाने के बाद भारत एक अमीर संपन्न देश बन जाएगा, लेकिन 21वीं सदी को 2 ही साल बाकी हैं और हम अभी भी दुनिया के सबसे गरीब और अशिक्षित देशों में गिने जाते हैं। इसका क्या कारण है? क्या हमारी आर्थिक नीतियों में कोई कमी थी या हमने शिक्षा पे उतना ध्यान नहीं दिया जितना देना चाहिए था?
Statistics does not tell the whole story of our economic development, because I have a scale on which I judge. The village I come from, I was born and lived nearly about first 20 years in the village, more or less, where I have been going back again and again. I think the condition of almost everybody in that village is infinitely better than before independence. Infinitely better.
Did you go to a village school?
I went to village school.
Has that improved as well as the whole?
Yes, yes, certainly. In the village school, in the village there was only at that time a primary school. That school still exists. And on the top of it, there was a middle school there, English middle school. Now they are a full-fledged college, producing in the rural areas graduates and MAs. And so it has grown. Educationally, there is no comparison. And people are, I used to go around with the one dhoti, even when I was in high school, or even when I was in college. I come home, I have only one dhoti. Now nobody goes around without, I never use slippers in the village. And now you cannot see the poorest person without a bush shirt, dhoti, slipper, and most of them have watches, cycles in which they ride, and their health is infinitely better off in health now today. I mean, these are actual visual images I have. It might not happen in every village, it may not be. But I think such things have happened in India. 250 or 300 million are rated to be middle class. They have their lifestyle is equal to best standards in any other of the affluent developing countries around us. And therefore this uneven development has affected the rest of the people.
राष्ट्रपति अभी भी समाजवादी विचारधारा में विश्वास रखते हैं और ये मानने को तैयार नहीं है कि भारत के पिछड़ेपन का खास कारण है हमारी समाजवादी नीतियां।
I don't think we followed any socialism. I don't think so. I have been in China. I know what socialism achieved there. They achieved complete literacy education. They achieved in their communes, etc. They have given certain activism to the people and all that. I don't think socialism had anything to do with it, because socialism did not have a chance in India.
Why not?
It is true that Nehru talked about socialism. We nationalized a few industries. Beyond it, it did not go. I think socialism has a considerable merit. What went wrong with us was that in the beginning, there was nobody to do the basic important economic jobs. Private sector was feeble. A private sector did not have the capacity to build steel mills or railways or even roads. Then government had to take over. Government did something, but government did not take over everything in India. Nearly 70% of the economy was outside this control system. The entire agriculture was outside it. And, but after the first 15 or 16 or I should say 20 years or something like that, when you had built up certain infrastructure, economic infrastructure, after that we needed a liberalized management, greater freedom in economic activities. And at that time, we did not change. We changed another 20 years later, or more than 25 years later, introduced liberalization. That period, which we lost, which was responsible for most of the inadequacies of Indian economy.
श्री के.आर. नारायणन भारत के पहले हरिजन राष्ट्रपति हैं और वो मानते हैं कि उनको दुख होता है कि अभी भी भारत में ज्यादातर गरीब और अनपढ़ लोगों में हरिजनों की संख्या ज्यादा है.
It worries me very much, no doubt. It worries everybody, I think, except those who are dedicated to casteism. And you can talk about economic policies, philosophies, and all that. But where we have failed is in our social philosophy, in a practical sense. Because India still is a highly compartmentalized society. The affluence of one section does not have even a filtration effect on the rest of society. And that is why the progress we have made is confined and compartmentalized.
राष्ट्रपति भवन 300 एकड़ में बना 340 कमरों का एक आलीशान महल है जिसको अंग्रेजों ने बनाया था उस जमाने में जब हुकूमत के लिए अपनी शक्ति दिखाना जरूरी था. तो क्या भारत के राष्ट्रपति के लिए भी ये शान और शौकत जरूरी है?
It was built as an imperial city, and this was a center of that imperial splendor. But I don't think any of the presidents lived here in splendor. What was the lifestyle of our first president, second president? You take anyone. They lived in this splendid structure, imperial structure, where their lifestyle was that of an ordinary man. I don't live a splendid life. I don't live a luxurious life here. But I'm living in a luxurious house. This paraphernalia attached to these offices are very unnecessary. Unfortunately, today, this paraphernalia has been reinforced by considerations of security. But don't you think that a governor or a president or their families are living in, rolling in luxury? Most of them do not know how to live a luxurious life, I tell you.
Well, we take your word for it. We take your word. राष्ट्रपति की पत्नी बर्मा की है और इनकी मुलाकात और शादी अपने आप में एक किस्सा है.
My first posting in the Foreign Service was Rangoon. At that time, my wife was in Delhi, studying at the Delhi School of Economics, Delhi School of Social Work. And I did not know him at that time. I didn't know her in Delhi at all. And then she returned to Rangoon when I was halfway through my posting there. And a Burmese friend one day told me that there is a girl who had studied, took her MA from Delhi University, and she has come back. I think you should meet her. Just in the diplomatic way, talked. I thought it is my duty to meet somebody who had so much association with India. Therefore, in that way, I met her first. And she was working with the YWCA, arranging, social work was a subject, arranging certain programs of lectures, etc. And someone gave my name to her as a potential lecturer. So she invited me, wrote me a letter if I will give that lecture. So I Then I met her there second time in that way, and that way we came to know. So this was also, shall I say, throughout my life, the play of chance was
The dice have rolled in your favor.
much more important than anything I did myself or wanted to do.
Madam, do you manage to enjoy life living here, or is it a very intimidating house to live in?
So far, I'm also too busy to be able to. But
Enjoy, able to feel enjoyment.
yes, enjoy in the sense that a place to walk, and then, but still you're busy with so many things, and then all the VVIPs coming also. These are my job.
हालांकि हमें राष्ट्रपति जी से इंटरव्यू इस शर्त पे मिला कि हम राजनीतिक हालात पे कोई सवाल नहीं करेंगे। चुनाव के इस मौसम में हमने उनकी इजाजत लेकर एक छोटा सा सवाल पूछ ही डाला। Mr. President, I know I promised not to ask you any political questions, and I'm not going to ask you a political question. I'm going to ask you a general question. We're on the verge of an election. It's an election in which we see the wrong kind of people sitting in many of our legislatures. When you look at this coming general election, what do you expect to see? Do you expect to see an improvement? Are you hopeful that things are going to be better in every sense?
Well, I hope so. I hope so, but I cannot be lavishly hopeful. The real problem lies in the competition of political parties. I think the primary responsibility for giving good candidates for the assemblies and the parliament rests with organized political parties. And they have absolute freedom without any constitutional inhibitions for selecting what they think to be the right people. But if they induct for reasons which may not be valid, they think that a man with a criminal record ought to be given a ticket. I don't know why they should think that way, but they often think that he would get elected, or he has a greater influence even in that region. That may be why they are choosing him. But what prevents political parties in choosing people who are better?